When you work hard, you will see big results. LUTV News anchor Akira Mouton spoke to Wright about the hard work he has done over the years at Lamar University.
Welcome to LUTV News InFocus, where we feature interesting topics on campus, in the community, and in the world of culture. I'm Akira Mouton. Wright started working at Lamar University in 2006 as an assistant professor. Wright has worked his way up and earned his spot as the Dean of the College of Fine Arts and Communication. Golden is here to tell us about his experiences as a professor and dean at Lamar University. Hi, Golden. How are you today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. My first question for you is, what was the transitions like from professor to department chair to dean?
There were quite a few, and I've enjoyed all three roles. And the first one is as a professor. I came in as an instructor and then got put on tenure track as an assistant professor. And in those roles, I was trying to figure out how to best teach, create with the students that I had here, which every university, every department has a different feeling, a different personality. And so as you come in, you start to figure out what it is how you can impact students. And every group of students is different. And so it's all about my art and my students and what I'm able to do as a professor. And then when I became department chair, I figured out that's not the case. I have to be last. It has to be about my faculty students and my students in the classroom, and then about my faculty and staff. And then it's about me, and you have to be last. And then you have the creative portion of it, of being able to choreograph or to be able to research with students and the teaching in the classroom. Well, when you become dean, you no longer teach. Mm-hmm. And so it's all about everyone else. And it's all of those are student-centered. But in this particular case, goes from all about me and my students and my art to it's about others in the department and then about mine. And then when you become dean, what I found is that it's about others.
Mm. Okay. And what do you do as the dean?
Well, mostly it's to serve. Like that's the way I try to approach it, is that it's about other people and making sure that they're successful. It's not about what I do. It's about making sure that students have what they need in order to learn and to be successful and prepare themselves for when they graduate. It's about our faculty and how do you serve them in a capacity to make them the most successful in the classroom or in their teaching or in their performances within their clinics. And part of being dean is getting to know what those programs are. When you're in a department like theater and dance, or you're a department chair of theater and dance, we work and collaborate a lot together. Whereas in a college that's as diverse as ours is, everybody does something a little different. So how can you be an advocate for them unless you're actually getting to know what each of those departments are doing? And so getting to know, supporting, serving, I think is the main thing.
And why is it important for you to interact with students as the dean?
Well, that's why we're here. I mean, how can we know how a student is supposed to be successful unless we're actually getting to know students? That was one of my fears about leaving the classroom or leaving the studio, was that I would become too far removed from that, because times have changed a bunch over the last 20 years, almost 20 years I've been in higher education. Not just that, since COVID, things have changed drastically. And students need different things at this particular time. You know, AI is a big one. What's going on currently with online learning, where more students are online or learning online versus in the classroom, and so that's different, and they need different needs within that. So I think those would be the largest, or number one and two on my list there.
So how did COVID-19 and AI, how did that change your job personally?
Well, AI is interesting because you're trying to figure out how are students doing things successfully and doing it the right way, and academic freedom to be able to teach the way you want to, but at the same time be able to assess and make sure that it's the student's work. That's the big one. And what was the other one?
How did COVID impact your job as an employee here?
Well, that was a big one, because we did lots of performances, and you had to figure out how did you make that work as far as bringing audience members in and jumping through the hoops to make sure that, number one, everybody was healthy and that we kept them safe. So your priorities changed a little bit. You always wanted, that was always there as far as trying to keep people safe, but you had another level of it, of making sure your faculty, your students, everyone who was in the performance aspect of it, and then you added the audience into it. That was a tough era, not just on students, but on faculty, staff, the administration.
So how did y'all go about doing those performances during that time of COVID?
Well, some of them required masks, ended up making sure that they sat 6 feet apart. So instead of having audiences of 100, you may have an audience of 30. If you were in the university theater that seats 504, it may be a situation that maybe you had 100 people. You sat them based off of if they were in households. We actually had to move 2 different performances to a following weekend because of people coming in contact with others that had COVID. There were a number of things that we had to do, but we made sure that we went through protocol through the university, made sure that we followed national guidelines. We made sure that we went above and beyond. In rehearsal spaces, we made sure people wore masks. We made sure that they were in squares, that they weren't interacting. They were staying 6 feet apart. I mean, there were a number of things we had to do to prepare to get to the stage. But once we got to the stage, it was a whole nother list of things that we needed to do to keep people safe.
Yeah. Switching topics.
Sure.
I know that you bring students to the symphony.
I do.
How did that come about?
Actually, my predecessor started that, and I think that I'm not interested in change for change's sake. You change things because you want to make a positive light, and that was already a positive thing. Getting to know, so there's 6 different symphony performances. My wife and I take 2 students from each department to each one of the performances. And it gives us an opportunity to learn a little more from the student's perspective and what their needs are and where they're succeeding, how to get to know what their discipline is, what their ambitions are. It's just another opportunity for me to be around students and figure out how to make sure that they're successful and also find out what they do, be an advocate for them.
I was really glad that I got to go experience that with you and your wife and Marquise. Is there anything else you would like to add about your time at Lamar?
Well, as an alumni as well, so I have my doctorate in educational leadership here at Lamar. I've been here almost 18 years, and whether it be an instructor, assistant professor, a department chair, a dean, I've really, valued that wonderful time that I've had here. I feel like this is where it's home now. I'm proud to be a Cardinal. I love my colleagues. I enjoy coming to work. It's a great place to be. And I feel that from top to bottom, you're surrounded by people that are here for the right reason, and that's students. And so I'm really proud to be here at Lamar.
We're so happy to have you here, and thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for watching LUTV News in Focus. To see more content from LUTV News, follow us on X and like us on Facebook.